Your jewelry brand has so much potential. Are you ready to take it to the next level? The Jewelry Brand Makeover Masterclass will help you pinpoint what's holding your business back and show you how to grow with clarity and confidence. Learn how to attract better customers, position your brand the right way, and create a sales system that actually works. This is a live event and spots are filling up quickly. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/makeover to reserve your seat today. Are you ready to make 2025 your best year yet? Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/makeover and I'll see you there. Welcome to the show today. Hey there, it's Tracy, and today we have an incredible bonus encore episode with Nicole Burch. She is a jewelry designer and business owner who basically started her jewelry business as a hobby when her husband was deployed. And she was able to turn that hobby into a full-time business where she is now supporting her entire family, even after deployment, including homeschooling her special needs son and being able to support the entire family on the income of her jewelry business. Now, I recorded this episode last January, and since that time, Nicole's sales continue to grow. So this is just the beginning of planting the seeds of something that can happen when you really go all in and commit to doing the marketing work that actually builds your audience and creates raving fans for you, which is exactly what Nicole did. So in this episode, Nicole's going to share her journey from going from a startup hobby to having $10,000 to $12,000 weeks in her jewelry business by launching collections and really warming up and engaging her audience through moving people off the social media platforms onto her email list. She's talking about how she's used abandoned cart flows and how she stays in touch with her audience in between collection launches. So this is going to be an amazing episode. Make sure that you listen in, and you're just going to be so inspired because when you put the work in and you continue to build that warm audience, you show up authentically and do the thing that maybe you've been avoiding because, it's going to confront you with some fear or whatever it is. I even said this in my recent masterclass, the Jewelry Brand Makeover Masterclass, that the magic you seek is in the work that you're avoiding. So we're going to show you how to lean in to the things that you know you need to do, just like Nicole did. Now, I want to introduce Nicole. She is a full-time mom to a special needs son, a Reiki master, and a wire wrapping artist at Nicole Burch Jewelry. In 2018, she rediscovered the beauty of crystals and began wrapping them as a hobby. She joined laying the foundation and started applying strategies from that program and turned her hobby into a profitable business. So let's dive into this episode with Nicole Burch. Well, I'm so excited to have Nicole Burch of Nicole Burch Jewelry on the show today, me for podcast episodes. And she didn't technically pitch me for a podcast episode, but she reached out to me to thank me for some of the foundational things that she learned in our Laying the Foundation program, maybe a couple of weeks ago or during the holidays. And you were just really excited because you had an amazing collection launch. So I want to acknowledge that. So Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love your podcast.
Yay! So before we get started and dive into some of these details, I'd love to know just a little bit more about your journey. How did you become a jewelry artist? And tell me about your business.
Well, it definitely wasn't planned. I was kind of in between things, and I started making jewelry as a hobby. And about 6 months later, I found your program, Laying the Foundation. And that's when I had decided to turn it into a business. And at that time, my husband was deployed overseas. So I was really just trying to do something to keep my mind away from looking at the news all the time.
I'm sure that must have been so stressful for you.
It was. I got into jewelry making a lot more that year.
You're like, my business really started that year because I wanted to distract myself. Oh gosh. And when your husband's deployed, you don't really get to speak to him very often.
No, it's very hit and miss. He's actually since then, now we're civilians. So he since then got out, and it's much less stressful.
Oh gosh, that's so great. So what kind of jewelry do you design? Tell us a little bit more about the product and all that stuff.
Well, I do wire wrapped jewelry, and it started out, I did a lot of the antiqued copper, and I looked for inspiration in other creators. And then I realized that I wanted to kind of take it a different route and do more of higher, little bit higher end, not like solid gold necessarily, but gold filled and sterling silver. And I kind of wanted to take it into a different route because what I realized is that I had to create so many pieces in order to make any real
Yes.
money. So I couldn't really make a business out of the type of jewelry that I was making. So I had to think about some of the principles that we learned in laying the foundation, like who is your ideal customer? And I was able to figure out some of the gaps. I knew I wanted to make a decent amount of money and at some point in time be able to potentially turn it into something full time. And I couldn't do that with the type of jewelry that I was making.
Wow, that's a big shift.
Yeah.
Did you come to that realization like during the Laying the Foundation program, or was it kind of before, after?
Well, actually, laying the foundation took me a few years to actually fully get through.
That's not surprising. It's a robust program.
When I found laying the foundation, it was still a hobby. I was like 6 months into knowing how to wire wrap jewelry. And that's when I started changing like branding, starting to think about branding and who my ideal customer was.
Mhm.
That
That's
that
amazing.
that's
That's
really important.
it's really important. And I think that that's so powerful. And you've done, I mean, there's so much that has like happened. I feel like this year I want to like dig into some of the details that you shared with me. But first, like you are the mother of a special needs child and
Yes.
you have to really organize your time to be
Yes.
able to do that. Is your business full time now?
It is full time now. And we homeschool our son too.
Wow.
So I was doing homeschool in the morning and working in the afternoon to the into the evening.
So how did you create a schedule for your time to make it all fit in? Because I know that, you know, moms, I think moms are one of the people who say often like I don't have time for this. Like how did you make it work to fit it all in?
Scheduling, that was huge. And one of the things that I came to realize, especially recently as my business has picked up, the importance of boundaries. So having
Mhm.
the boundaries between your work life and your home life. And I think a lot of times it's easy for all of that to blend together with moms. And there is this message out there that it's like fitting your business in the cracks of your schedule. And I don't know how much I really like that because
Mm-mm.
then you don't have any boundaries. And it's like you're doing, maybe you're on your phone answering somebody on social media when you should be like maybe with your family at the when they're at the park or something like that.
Exactly.
So I schedule everything. I would schedule school in the morning and then schedule, this is my work time, and my family knows that it's my work time. And that's, I'm all in on the work at that time.
So that's great. So you're really taking time blocking and creating a schedule for your week. And I'm guessing that you're doing themed days where you're focusing on certain types of activities on the different days to get more productive.
Not necessarily on the days, but how I do my work is in sections. So when I'm in the mode of creating collections, I am releasing reels and filming 4 to 6
So
days a
great.
week. So
Wow.
when I'm working, I am using that as an opportunity to create content.
That's incredible. I love that. And it's such a smart move. I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast feel so overwhelmed by social media because they feel like they have to stop and set a bunch of stuff up to
Yeah,
record their content. But it's really, if you document as you're going, it makes it so much easier.
it does. It does. And I think a lot of it too is knowing who, like when you're creating content, knowing who your ideal audience is. So who are you trying to market to? I had to figure this out because I honestly, I don't follow any trends on social media. And all of my stuff prior to when I like had some traction on social media, I was trying to follow trends and like look
Mhm.
for the audio, and that was just stressing me out so much. So then I let go of that and I told myself, I'm not following any more trends. I'm not using the trending music, none of it. I started creating the vibe that I wanted my audience to be able to connect with. So my reels are about a minute long.
Mhm.
And I usually, it usually takes me about a half an hour to edit, but they are effective reels and it gives people an idea of the type of work that I do. And I believe that it casts a lot of value on what I do.
Wow. And how has that impacted the growth of your sales and your business?
My sales in 2022 versus 2023 last year, it grew about 5 times
Wow.
in
You
sales.
5x your sales
Yeah.
in 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Now, earlier, like when we were messaging you, like earlier, you told me that your husband lost his job. And so you were in a spot where it's like you had to kind of be all in for your business. You
Yeah.
also had some incredible success with the collection drop, and you exceeded your goal or hit your goal. That was really a really big goal for a 2-day
Yeah.
goal. I'm going to dig all into that. But first, well, why don't you tell me a little bit what happened in your own words, because I think it's really helpful for people to understand the context.
Okay. So when was this? This was 2022 is when it really started. I went through a season of, I thought I was probably going to go crazy because of how stressed out I was. My
Mhm.
husband, we had a sudden exit from the military. Usually they give you a lot of notice. We had like 2 months notice to get a lot of stuff together. We went from being in service to civilian, having to adjust to it. So we went through
Wow.
a lot of changes within a short period of time. And my husband got a job shortly after that. And then a year later, he was let go. And I told myself, so this was at the end of 2022. I said, I don't want to rely on somebody else like
Mhm.
that ever again, because it put us in this tailspin of stress. And my son is special needs. He's really sensitive to energy. So
Mhm.
he's picking up on that we're so stressed out and then we're fighting more and all of those things. And I said, 2023, I'm not doing that anymore. And that's when I decided to take massive action. And I didn't really have a big following at the beginning of 2023. I had maybe like 1,000 followers on Facebook.
You mean
And now,
2022?
no, 2023,
Oh, 2023, the beginning of this year. Okay. Awesome.
beginning of 2023,
Yeah.
yeah, just last year, I had maybe 1,000 followers on Facebook. And now I'm almost at 30
Wow.
through Reels. I've gotten that following through Reels. I never pay for ads or anything like that. And I started to take massive action. And then, this fall, my husband lost his job and it wasn't even his fault. And I said, never again. We're not doing this. I said, like, we're going to just be a team and I'm going to go for it.
Figure it out and like retire
Yeah.
him. And are you guys working together, or is he just retired?
Well, he helps with my son with the schooling. So that gives me more time
Yes.
to dedicate to my business. And he does help me a little bit. I fall a little bit behind sometimes on social media with comments and stuff like that. So he sometimes sifts through them to see if there's any important questions or
Mhm.
anything like that for me. And he builds my boxes for when I do shipping.
Amazing. That's incredible. So you put him to work a little bit, which is great.
Yeah.
So you keep using the term you're taking massive action. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means for me, the way that I got my following is doing reels. So putting myself out there.
Mhm.
Before I was having inventory issues with carrying too much inventory. And I kept telling my husband, like, I'm not being seen. And it's the worst thing in the world to feel like you're not being seen. I'm not being seen. I wasn't moving inventory. But the truth of it is that I was scared to be seen.
Wow.
So so I was scared to be seen and put myself out there. And I decided to just put myself out there. Who cares what other people think? Just show my face on the videos. I think that's really important. And I post about 4 to 6 times a week on videos, and I show up on posts on Facebook probably about 3 to 4 times a day to
Wow.
connect with my audience. And the funny thing about that is a lot of people talk about places like TikTok as being massive opportunities for growth. But I found that my audience isn't over there. So it's not necessarily about where you think your audience should be, but where are they actually?
Hmm.
I
It's
never
true.
thought in a million years that my biggest following would be on Facebook. And that's where most of my sales come from is Facebook, and they go over to my email list.
Wow. So I have the chills right now because like I've never heard of anyone growing a Facebook page to 30,000 people from 1,000 a year ago
Yeah.
in this day and age. Like it's just
Yeah.
so different. I mean, there is a different demographic on Facebook. They're a little bit older. They typically have money, which is great because they can
Yeah.
actually
That-
afford the products. And
that's exactly it.
exactly. So, one of the things I really wanted to dive into because you shared with me about how your collection sold out in 2 days. It was a really exciting number. I'm going to let you share whatever you feel comfortable with.
Sure.
And I asked you what you attributed that to. And you said, my email list. So let's talk about how, in addition, okay, so this is really important. I wasn't expecting you to say all this stuff about being seen. I'm actually going to change the name of this episode now because of this. Because I do think it's really important. I was talking with another designer earlier today, and she's like, when she is in selling mode, she goes into like this persona so that she can actually talk about her work and have the confidence to do that. So before we dig into email, like what was the thing that like, did you create an alter ego or you just like, you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you just did it. And now you feel comfortable doing it. What was it?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think that I still feel truly comfortable, but we get confidence by doing.
Yes.
And I think I just like I like this one little method that I use a lot by Mel Robbins, and it's the 5-second rule. So when you feel uncomfortable or you don't want to do something, you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just do it.
Mm-hmm. I love that part.
And that doesn't give your brain time to try to convince you not to do it. And I think often, I know for myself, we let ourselves off the hook more than we should.
Oh, yeah.
So we say, oh, it's nice and comfortable in bed, like it's nice and warm, and truly, maybe we don't want to get up that day, but like we should. That's when we should push ourselves to get up out of bed.
Exactly. This is true. It's hard. Sometimes when the subconscious mind is running the show and you don't even realize it, and we're going a little bit deep here, but we all have stories and programming that has been innate in our psyche, and depending on what you believe, potentially for generations after generations, because we are brought up through a lineage of whoever our family is, right? And there's this imprint, right? So whether you believe that it's just from the beginning of this lifetime, or if you believe in, generational trauma and lineages coming up, a lot of that stuff is so programmed so deeply that we don't even realize it, and it feels real. And the more that we can overcome like our feelings of insecurity or fear of putting ourselves out there and do something like the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins, just to do it, like
Yeah.
that helps you build the confidence. I did a podcast interview a while ago with a woman named Miriam Schulman, and she has a book for artists. And she's like, do you get confidence? Do you lack confidence because you procrastinate, or do you procrastinate because you lack confidence? And it's an
Mhm.
interesting concept because if you just do the thing, you start to build more confidence, right?
That's the only way to really build confidence. And I wish I had something more profound to say about it other than like being yourself. Cause I don't put any kind of persona on, and like I try not to worry about, some of those things like, oh, how do I look today, or
Yeah.
anything like that when I'm filming. I try not to worry about that. And one of the things that I did recently, my cat is always all over me when I'm trying to create. And so when I'm filming, he'll walk across the camera and I'm just
So
like,
great.
"Okay, go away for a second." But what I realized is that how we connect with our audience is showing them that we're human too. So I started putting him in my reels, sitting there watching me,
So
and
cute. I love
then I
it.
started getting messages from some of my followers of pictures of their cats and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. So really like connecting with people on things that make you human. Like we don't need to Photoshop stuff like that out.
Absolutely not. I agree 100%. Okay. Back to this email list thing. Let's talk about this. So how how did you like get into the habit of building your email list and marketing through your email list and using the email list and your social media to tease your collection drops?
This was something that I was hesitant for such a long time because I always said to myself, oh, I'll send the emails when I get a bigger email list. I didn't have an email list when I took laying the foundation. That was like, all of this was brand new. And when I did start the email list, I had not very many people. But if you just send the emails anyways, even if you have like 20 people on your email list, because those are warm leads.
Yeah.
So for me, I basically took the people from the reels and the following, and I had to consistently put myself out there to ask for them to go sign up. And I used to give discounts. I don't anymore, but I used to get discounts in order to give discounts in order to get the emails. And I don't do that anymore. Basically, it's just early access to my collections.
That's amazing. How did you get over that hump? Because I know that's a huge one for people. They're like, I have to give a discount or else people aren't going to sign up.
I was so resistant, but I kept listening to your podcasts and listening to your content, and you kept talking about just ask for people to sign up on your email list, build your email list and send the emails. And honestly, I can probably even be better on sending emails. I really send a lot of emails around collection time,
Mhm.
but in between collections, I could get a little bit better. It's just one of those things that's uncomfortable that you do anyways.
Progress, not perfection. This is all about taking the
Yeah.
steps, right?
Yeah. And honestly, like I still haven't even fully implemented everything that you guys teach as far as some of the different workflows. I pretty much have a welcome workflow, and then it's the emails around the collection time.
Do you have an abandoned cart set up yet?
Oh, actually, you know what? I do have that
Okay, good. You
I have
need
that
that.
one set up.
Okay,
I
good.
don't have a sunset one or the some of the other ones that you guys talk about. And I really, that's something I still have to do, but I'm having a lot of success even with just a portion of that and sending the emails.
That's so incredible. So, how did your email marketing strategy and your social strategy start impacting your growth? Because earlier in this episode, you said that you 5x your growth over 2022. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
So pretty much I think maybe at the beginning of 2023, I think I maybe had 200 email subscribers.
Mhm.
And I leaned on asking for people to go and get it on, like, go and sign up for my email list on my social media. So, and to back it up a little bit, putting out that many reels eventually will get you seen. And there's
Yes.
going to be new people coming to your page all the time. So you have to ask for it more than once. You
Yes.
cannot ask for
Several
it.
times a week.
Yes, you have to put it out there because there's new people. If you're growing, there's new people and they don't know. A lot of people don't know. I get questions almost like so frequently. How do I buy some of your pieces? How do I get access to your collections? They don't know because you have to put it out there. And even with how the algorithm works, even the people that have been with you for a while, maybe they haven't seen your posts to where you're asking for them to join your email list.
Mhm. This is true. So,
Yeah.
how often do you ask for your email list for people to subscribe to it?
As I go through my collection, creating my collections. So when I'm
Okay.
going through creating my collections, I don't have a specific amount of time, maybe like once a week, I'll put it out there when I'm in creation mode because there's new people.
Mhm.
And eventually, I mean, people go to it because they want access to your collections.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
And so you teased out this last collection for holiday season. Tell me
Yeah.
what happened.
Well, I have one pendant left. It was crazy. The sales, I know when I talked to you, I had said that I hit my goal. My goal was $10,000 in sales. I hit that goal within, I think it was 2 days.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the total amount that I actually sold was about 12,000
Wow.
within, I think it was maybe like a week, something like that. That was around Christmas time.
We'd all take that.
Yeah, it was awesome. I
That's
couldn't
so
believe
good.
it. I said, I got a message, Tracy.
That is so great. And that's when you reached out to me, right?
Yeah, that's when I reached out. I said, if I hit 10K, I'm going to be contacting Tracy to
It's
let
so
her know
great.
how important laying the foundation was.
So the thing that's so powerful about this is that the reason why I developed this program is for it to be a reference tool. It's not necessarily for you to just go through and take the whole thing all at once, although some people do and they do a great job. I want it to be something where you go and you learn something and then you execute and implement on it. And it's really about putting the reps in. And so
Yeah,
you started the program in 2019
yeah,
and things were different in your life back then. And now you're really leaning into the principles of it to
yeah,
grow your business to this day, to support your entire family and a special needs child,
yeah.
which is
That's
remarkable.
that's it. And I was completely, like you were saying, I was at a completely different area. I was still a hobby jewelry
Mhm.
maker. And so some of the things in laying the foundation maybe weren't quite applicable at that time. But the more that I review some of the principles and the more that I'm able to apply, I'm realizing, wow, that works. Like, because I didn't even have an email list when I started. And so I had to start that.
It's incredible. So, what was the thing that got you to say yes to laying the foundation all those years ago?
A gut feeling. I wish
Interesting.
that I had some sort of like eloquent answer, but I go a lot on my gut feeling. There was something, I think I seen an advertisement on Facebook,
Mm,
and my husband was deployed. So there was everything, everything that I was feeling was being taken into account when I saw the ad. And I thought, what if I took this course and, turned my hobby into a business?
that's incredible. So, what were your favorite parts about the program?
Probably I'm going to say the most impactful. I know the email list has definitely been impactful, but aside from that, I think probably you're finding your dream client.
Yeah, that's everyone's like, it's a fan fave.
Yeah, that's the most. If you don't have your dream client locked in, a lot of the other stuff is not going to work properly.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that people get stuck on a lot too, but also I feel like the way we lay it out is we really help you dig deep to get clarity so that you're getting inside of their head and you understand like what's really motivating them to buy
Yeah.
from you. Because
Yeah.
it's different for everyone. And the reasons why people buy jewelry, it's a very emotional purchase. It's not something that is, no one really needs jewelry unless you are wearing a medical bracelet or something that's going to
Yeah.
save your life. I mean, there are some, biohacking things now with like Aura rings and stuff like that, but that's a whole different category. That's what,
Yeah. No, that's definitely it. So then it's like, how can you have to have your dream client really dialed in, because you have to also know where they show up so that you can show
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. And so you were probably spending time like in other platforms before, but you found out that they're just on Facebook and that's kind of where,
Yes. I was actually focusing most of my time on Instagram and TikTok. And I realized I still sometimes post over on TikTok, but I realized that that's not where like most of my people are at. And my Instagram has been going off recently. I think I've got a couple thousand extra followers over the last
incredible.
couple months, but Facebook really surprised me. It really surprised me, but I really like that platform because I feel like I'm able to connect with my audience. When I'm doing a collection, I post maybe like the 3 or 4 times a day to connect with them. You can do links in your stories, you can do polls, and similar to Instagram in that sense. But Facebook, I've really been able to connect with my audience. And I actually did a poll not long ago asking my Facebook audience what platform they like the best. And most of them said Facebook.
Yeah, they're probably on it all day.
They're on it all the time. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Who is your dream client?
My dream client is somebody that a lot of my clients are people who love animals. They're usually above 30 years old, maybe a lot of like retired.
Mhm.
That's usually, I think, like a little bit older. Somebody who is interested in the healing properties of gems, because I go
Mhm.
into that. Gem collectors, because I find rare gems as well, and I work with them. Yeah, so that's like for the most part. I think
That's
like
great.
who I'm talking to, and that's why it's important to know like the age category too for who you're
Yes.
trying to market to.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, there are older people on TikTok, but like a lot of, I mean, I keep trying to get into TikTok. I'm in my 50s and I don't like it.
Yeah. I totally understand. I'm like, is the algorithm working against me? Like, why is there only like 100 or 200 views on this?
I know. It's maybe someday I'll get there, but and I may have missed the boat. I don't know. But you know, for some people they do really well on it, so you never
Yeah.
know.
So I think a lot of it just depends on who you're talking to. Like my content before it started really taking off, there was a gap between who I wanted to market to and who I was actually showing up for. So some even it comes down to some of the music that I use in some of my reels. I'm not using music that maybe 18-year-olds
Mhm.
would really appreciate and like. I'm using something a little bit more easygoing, something
Mhm.
that my dream client would really enjoy watching. And how can I make my content binge worthy to where
Exactly.
people want to sit there and scroll through all of your content?
It's amazing. So, I have just a few more questions for you. Let's list through some of your specific results since you've joined laying the foundation, especially within the last year or two.
Okay, so I'm going to say like my email list has been one of them. So I've grown that from maybe, I think it was maybe like 100 to now it's over 500.
Wow, that's great.
That's one of them. And then the social media following and just really like how I've been showing up and the energy that I'm showing up as like I'm just authentic, I'm just me. I'm not worried about like putting on some sort of other, I'm just me.
Yep.
That's and it's a lot easier to show up when you start to let go of some of those
Mhm.
expectations for what maybe you think you should look like, or
Mhm.
and that's a real breakthrough in my area because I used to be really self-conscious to show up online.
You're doing great. And then what about your sales? Because you mentioned this earlier.
Yes, the sales as well. I I can't even express how impactful that has been because now my husband can be at home and we spent such a long time being active duty military
Mhm.
and being away on deployments, and it means the world to me that I can see more of him and he can
Yes,
spend more time with our son. Those deployments were really hard on my son.
I
And,
bet.
with him being special needs, like it's very hard to explain to him why his daddy is gone.
Mhm. Oh, that's a lot. I really
Yeah.
admire you and everything you've done. I just have one more question. What would you say to someone who is considering laying the foundation and might be on the fence?
Get off the fence. Just do it. Like, I don't have anything other than like that laying the foundation has been a blueprint for me to take my hobby into a business that can actually be worthwhile for my family because before I started implementing some of the principles, I was starting to question whether or not what I was doing was worth it. And the pricing.
Yeah.
So pricing your jewelry appropriately is something I learned in laying the foundation and not selling yourself short.
Mhm.
So the reason why I was questioning whether or not what I was doing was worth it was because I had my pricing
Yes.
not appropriate. And once you price things appropriately for what your work is actually worth, you start to see a lot more results and you start to feel like what you're doing is actually impactful and worth it for you to do for your family. I know that a lot of people struggle with is having the motivation to get up and create even when you don't feel seen. Something that I think about when I get out of bed every morning, as hard as it is sometimes to show up, I think about my own morbidity. So I think about tomorrow is never promised. And having a special needs son, I think about if I don't get up and make things happen, whether that's working out so that I can make sure that I'm healthy or showing up in my business to make sure that I accomplish everything I want to accomplish. If I don't do that and I were to pass tomorrow, who would advocate for my son, and would I get to my deathbed and have regrets? One of the biggest things that I think about is at the end of my life, I never want to have regrets and I want to go full out.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so grateful to have you here, Nicole. Where can everyone
Thank
find
you.
you?
So you can find me over on Facebook. I actually use a personal profile over there, Nicole L. Burch on Facebook. And you can also find me on Instagram at Nicole Burch Jewelry, or you can see my website, NicoleBurchJewelry.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. I hope you're inspired by Nicole's story and to know that you can do everything that she's done yourself with the support of community and the right knowledge and the right marketing strategy. So let's do this. And if you have any questions about how we can support you in growing your jewelry business or your business in general, then feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, and we'll have links in the show notes, or you can shoot me a text over at 602-492-1258. That is our company text line, and I am responding to all of those messages. So I look forward to hearing from you, and have an awesome day. Ciao. Before you go, I wanted to share something near and dear to my heart with you. If you're someone who would like to turn your content into a consistent sales machine and profits, listen up. Laying the Foundation is the program that has helped thousands of jewelry business owners just like you to attract high quality, high value, repeat buyers who buy every season. That loyalty is something that we are experts in. So if your sales are stuck and you're posting content that is not making sales and you feel like your marketing efforts are just a waste of time because neither your audience or your email list nor your sales are growing, well, then this is your time to do something different and break out of your rut to make daily sales the norm. If that's you and you're interested in learning more, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/LTF. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/LTF, and check out the case studies and the Laying the Foundation program for yourself. I promise it will change your life. Let's do this.